What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we have an important week ahead of us, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about why it's so important. I also want to talk about, I saw Pete Buttigieg. He's the transportation secretary. He was talking about the airline industry, and I want to address this because this is something that's very important for us to focus on. So we're going to talk about that. And then I want to talk about something a little more personal, something a little more about the channel. And I was watching another YouTuber, and what he was saying is how I'm feeling. And so I want to go ahead and express that to you guys as well. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first off, on this channel, we talk about money and the financial struggles that Americans are facing today. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so the first bit of news that I want to talk about is this is a very, very important week. So Wednesday, we'll find out the Federal Reserve, they have their meeting, and they are going to raise interest rates. We already know that. We just don't know how much, and so we're going to have to see what happens there. Now, that will cause the market to go up or down. We'll find out. I mean, the market goes up or down every day, but we'll probably see some significant change in the market on Wednesday. So just make sure you guys are tuning in. I'll give you guys all that information here so you'll know exactly what we're looking at when it comes to interest rates. And so right now, the Federal Reserve is trying to cool off our economy by raising interest rates. They're raising interest rates in the hope that inflation will drop. Okay, so we're going to see that information on Wednesday. And another thing I want to talk about here is the quarter two GDP. We're going to find out that information on Thursday. And I know you might be saying to yourself, why do I even care about quarter two GDP? Well, this is very, very important because this will show if we are in a recession. This is an indicator to show if we're in a recession. And if on Thursday it shows that our economy shrunk 2 straight quarters, then we're probably in a recession. Okay, that's the indicator that we're in a recession. So we're going to have to really focus on that as well. Now, I want to play this real quick for you guys. This was on CNN. And it's the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, and he's going to be talking a little bit about the airline industry. And I want to talk about this because I talked about this a couple of years ago when they started giving out money. And basically what was going on is the federal government, or us, taxpayers, we were giving the airline industry money just to keep them afloat, just so they can pay the flight attendants, pay the pilots and all that. And right now, it's a disaster when it comes to the airline industry. And I can speak to this firsthand because I just travel. I've been here for a month, been in Colombia for a month, and just getting here, it was a struggle. It was a real problem getting here, and I had to make some changes when it came to my flight reservations. I had to change from one airline to another airline just to get here because I was booking flights, and I booked a flight 3 times. And they canceled my flight all 3 times, okay? And so I just said, you know what? I'm not going with this airline anymore. I'm going to fly on a different airline, and so that's what I did. But it's really, really bad right now. So let's go ahead and play this clip, and then we're going to talk about it at the end. Here we go.
I want to ask you, the airline industry received more than $50 billion in taxpayer money during the pandemic, and yet American Airlines, U.S. Airlines, have canceled more than 100,000 flights so far this year. Travelers are dealing with price hikes and staffing shortages, widespread delays. Senator Bernie Sanders says you need to start fining airlines for scheduling flights they can't staff or flights delayed more than 2 hours and requiring them to fully refund flights delayed more than an hour. Why aren't you?
Well, we have been acting with our enforcement powers to hold airlines accountable. As a matter of fact, on my watch, we issued the stiffest fine in the history of the Consumer Protection Program for an airline that wasn't providing proper refunds. But of course, what we most want to have happen is for the flights to go better in the first place. We saw a lot of disruptions, really an unacceptable level of cancellations and delays over the Memorial Day weekend. After that, I pulled airline leadership together to talk about what they were going to do to better service the tickets that they sell. We've seen a lot of improvements since then. You look at cancellation rates for the last couple of travel weekends, they've been around 1.5%, which is getting closer to normal. It's of course never going to be zero with weather and things like that, but it should never be as high as it was during the Memorial Day travel weekend. And we're going to continue to push them, and of course prepared to work collaboratively whenever there's a chance to do things that smooth out operations in our national airspace. It's a good thing that Americans have the income and the inclination to get back in the skies, that demand is so high after a couple of years of people putting off trips. But now that demand is back, the airlines have to be prepared to service those tickets that they're collecting revenue selling.
Okay, so that's the situation when it comes to the airline industry. Now, I thought it was interesting, and you heard the stat there, 100,000 canceled flights this year. And let's just talk a little bit about, let's go back and talk a little bit about how we got to this point. And when it came to the airline industry, when we shut down everything during the pandemic, everything was shut down. The airline industry was given $50 billion, okay, $50 billion. And that was to stay afloat. That was to pay for all of their expenses that they needed to pay for their employees. But what the airline industry started doing is they started offering early retirement to flight attendants, to pilots, and a lot of the employees took the early retirement. And because they took this early retirement, and they probably got some nice bonus in order to go ahead and retire, now we're in a situation where they need pilots. They need pilots desperately, but you have to train pilots. You have to train flight attendants. It takes time. And so they're given all this money, and this is what I have a problem with. They're given all this money from the federal government, and they really downsize the employees. Where did all the money go? So now we're looking at a situation where you don't have enough pilots to fly these planes, and so that means cancellations, that means delays. And like I said, I was in this situation just a month ago where I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get to Colombia, because every time I book a flight, it says that it's available. I book the flight, and a couple of days later, it doesn't go through. And then I have to book it again. A couple of days later, it doesn't go through. Then I book it again. And I was booking it on the same airline, okay? And I don't know what was going on. I guess apparently they were showing on their website that they had this flight available, but the flight was not available. And they didn't update their system. I don't know what it was. But this is a situation that I was going through, and I just said, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with this airline. I'm going to go ahead and go to another airline. I booked it on a separate airline. Everything was okay. I was able to get here. There were some delays when it came to the flights, but that's fine. As long as I can get to the destination, I'm fine. But the airline industry right now is really upside down. And the saddest part about it is they're receiving all this money. What are they doing with the money? Are we holding them accountable for this whole situation? And that's what the question was. Should we be penalizing these airlines for these late flights and delays and cancellations and all this stuff that's going on? Give them a reason to make sure that they're doing right by the people. But right now we're not doing that. And so we're just giving them money. And then now we have to wonder, okay, where did all this money go? I mean, this money was to help these employees so they wouldn't have to, because you have to understand, when it comes to transportation, when it comes to the airline industry, you really don't want to just lay people off, or you don't want to not fire, but let go of a lot of these people. You want to at least keep them there. And so that's what that $50 billion was for. It was to keep them there, to say, okay, look, we're laying you off, but as soon as things pick back up, you're gonna come back, and we're gonna give you a little bit of money so you'll be able to manage. And so that's what it was for. But what happened? What did they do? They offered their early retirements, and people took those early retirements, and now we're in the situation that we're in. So when it comes down to giving money, and this is one of the pet peeves I have when it comes to when people start talking about, well, stimulus checks were bad and this and this and that, and you're giving people free money. We're giving companies free money, and we're not holding them accountable if they don't spend the money the way that they should be spending the money. And that is a huge problem. And we're looking at this when it comes to the chip, the new chips bill that they're talking about right now. And this will probably pass sometime this week because Congress will be going on recess, or at least the House will be going on recess next week. And so this is another situation where they're talking about grants. They're talking about money. Now, granted, this would help This would help the American people because we would be able to produce more chips here. And if we produce more chips here, that would lower the price of electronics and things like that. But we're still giving these companies free money, and we're not, to my knowledge, there's nothing that says that they have to produce more chips. Let's say they get more money and they use that money on new technology and things like that to make it easier for them to make these chips, but they don't really produce more chips. Are we going to hold these companies accountable because they're receiving all this money? Is this money going to be spread out to the smaller companies, or is it just going to be the larger companies? And so when it comes to giving money, we do a really good job of giving businesses money. Okay, corporations, they get money all the time from our tax dollars. But when it comes to money going to the people, that's when it's like, you know what? No, we can't do that. We're looking at we're deficit spending and all this stuff. And this is a situation, especially with this CHIPS bill, this is going straight to the debt. Okay, this is going to be added to the debt. At least when we're looking at, and the Build Back Better bill that they were just talking about a couple of weeks ago, even last week, where Senator Manchin said he can't go along with the full bill, right? Again, when we're looking at that bill, a lot of that is paid for, and it's paid for because they're raising taxes on the rich. That's the whole plan. And $500 billion would go to pay down the deficit. That's what they want to do with Build Back Better. That's a huge problem. That's a huge problem for politicians. But now they're looking at this bill where this CHIPS bill is $50 billion, something like $52 billion or something. They're even saying it could be more, could be in $70 billion. But when we're looking at that bill goes straight to the debt. Okay, it's not paid for in any way. We're just giving money to businesses, to corporations, to provide more chips for electronics. That's the hope. Okay, we're giving these corporations money in good faith and hoping that they produce more chips, but there are no guarantees. And some of these corporations, guess what? They'll take the money and they won't produce. And what are you going to do? You're going to take the money back from them? I highly doubt it. So that's what we're looking at right now, and it really bothers me when I see that and when I hear these stories, especially about the airline industry, because I was there. I was talking about this back then. Like, they're getting all this money, and this was separate money. This wasn't the money from the EIDL loans and all that stuff. This was separate, only for the airline industry that they were providing this funding, and then they were extending the funding and giving them more money. And now we're in this situation here where people want to fly, but guess what? They can't. There's a shortage. And so what does that mean? If there's a shortage of flights, the price goes up. So not only are our tax dollars going to the airline industry, but we're paying more. Now, if you want to travel, you're going to pay more because of the whole situation that we're in right now with the airline industry. Okay, and this is something created by them, right? They said early retirement for everyone, and people are taking early retirement, and now they can't backfill those positions. And these pilots, they need pilots, and so we're in this situation. If you don't have a pilot, you can't fly. And so that's why there's a problem. That's why there's a shortage. Okay, so last story I want to talk about. Now, this is very interesting because I was watching Meet Kevin, and I like watching his channel, and I've been watching him for a while. And if you notice, he's been out and about. Okay, he hasn't really been in his studio. And I'm the same way. You guys see me. I'm out and about. I'm not in my studio. I'm in another country. I'm going around. I'm talking. I'm doing the street walk and talk videos, and I'm doing videos here. But I feel the same way that he feels when it comes to just being in a situation. When I was at home and when I was in my studio, I love being in my studio at home because everything is there. I don't have to set up anything new. I don't have to think about anything when it comes to the background and all that stuff. It's already set up. I walk into my studio, I press a couple of buttons, lights come on, camera comes on, I start talking. But that gets a little old, and you're doing that every day. You get into this routine where you do it every day. It gets old. And I much more prefer to be on the road. And I like the challenge of trying to figure out, where am I going to set everything up when I'm in the apartment? Where am I going to go? I'm going to go walking new places and talk about things. What am I going to show you? Because I like to share stuff when I'm traveling. I like to share my different experiences with you guys. And so that makes it a little more fun. It's better than just waking up and reading some news articles and looking at some news programs, and then saying, okay, let me get something together so I can put a video out for you guys at home. This makes it a little more interesting. It's a little more challenging. It's a little more, hopefully it's more interesting for you guys to watch. And so I will be doing more of not just sitting here, but walking and talking and stuff like that, and telling you guys about what's going on in the U.S., but just doing it in a different environment. And I just thought it was interesting just watching his video, because I feel exactly the same way. I put out a video every day, and putting out a video every day, if you're doing it in the same place, in the same setting, it does get monotonous. It does get to a point where it's like, okay, I need something different. I can't just keep putting out content in this same environment. And so I just wanted to mention that. But as far as what's going on this week, very, very important. We're going to be looking at the Federal Reserve on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we're going to be looking at that second quarter GDP and seeing what those numbers look like. So like always, if you guys have any questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.